It's energies are popping up here.
My sister had a stroke Monday and she's
I'm
in the
sorry.
hospital. So.
Are we on yet? Yes. Oh, hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to our Wednesday morning class. For you that's joining us online, we're coming from HeartLight Spiritual Center here in Charlotte. We want to welcome you wherever you are and in joining this very important beginning of the teachings of the Nag Hammadi codices and scripts. And let us do a couple of things. First of all, I found some glasses in a chair over there. Okay. Segan, you should. They are yours. Okay, we got that solved. Also, Jackie let me know her sister had a stroke. Her name is Patricia. So we're going to take a moment for prayer. And also, let's bring in Sandra and her family, who will be here to celebrate the life of her sister here at HeartLight tomorrow at 11 o'clock, I believe it is. I'll be officiating.
11 is the viewing, 12 is the service.
Okay, and I'll be officiating that service tomorrow. So a lot going on here at HeartLight in there. It's amazing. Be patient. This is a big subject. And be patient in the fact that I'm going to almost start out by reviewing a little bit of Sunday. Because I tried to lay a foundation Sunday, but that was Sunday. That was in the midst of all the Sunday service and all that. So I would like to give you the why. You know, there's the why and the what and the how. And oftentimes the why gets edited out. So why do we want to study and look at this important find in December 1945, which, by the way, I was born December 3rd, 1945. I don't know if that's coincidence or what. I don't know if I believe in coincidence, but I know I was a 10-month baby that I did not want to come in until December of 45. And I think that I was following a wave of energy that was coming into our third dimensional world. You know, it takes a long time for things to catch on. You know that. Once it hits time-space, and that slows it down so much. This is why a lot of you that are seeking answers for things don't get them right away all the time, because it's got to go through the different dimensions by changing its vibratory frequency, and it becomes from a high frequency that is beyond our sensory, and therefore it has to reinterpret itself through the different frequencies until it gets down to a place where we can embrace it and understand it. But the good thing, and there's always the good and the bad thing about these things, the good thing is it will come. That I believe. I don't believe any prayer that is brought forth into the ether will not return. I think it's this way in the Bible: cast thy bread upon the water and it shall return not many days hence. So it is a coming. You that are wondering, where is it? I've been praying for this for so many years. I've been praying for this for months and I'm not seeing anything. It's not that it's not coming, because it is your Father of light's good pleasure to give you all the things of the kingdom of heaven. Let's establish that right now. There's not some God up there saying, no, I'm going to withhold your prayer and I'm going to give you your prayer, and you were better and you were more righteous and you did more meditation and you did more of this, so I'm going to reward you. This is not a reward system we're under. This is divine law. You're reaping and sowing, action and reaction. But your ego mind will say, well, what's wrong with you? Or what's wrong with this God you're praying to? And that's why we have to keep ourselves centered in our place of faith, of knowing. But And I can't help it, this reminds me of an Old Testament Bible story where Daniel, I believe it was praying for something and needed an answer, and it didn't come and didn't come and didn't come and didn't come. And finally, when it got there, it said it had been held up for 27 days. In other words, it had been blocked. It wasn't that it wasn't coming, it was blocked. Once the block was removed, it showed up. So if we'd spend more time in that kind of prayer of undoing rather than praying to do, because it's already done.
Yes, come on. Yeah, we're blocking ourselves.
Are you with me?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know if I can say that again, what I just said, but we'd spend more time in prayer of undoing instead of prayer to do because I don't have, I need to get, and more prayer of removing blockages, then we can't help but manifest. It's divine law. It's divine law. So always work with spiritual law. So why do we want to do this? And what happened on December 1945? And again, also, it continued to happen in 1947. So you have two experiences that happened in the rediscovery of these codices that had been hidden for 1800 years, almost 2,000 years. So let's talk about what that is. And I'm going to use my book here to make sure I get the right. I don't know about you, but I'm a little bit of a history buff. Maybe you're not, but I love to know why things and how they got there. So I tend to lean toward documentaries and things like that. I find that not a waste of my time, but I find it educational to do that. And there's so much available now on a lot of your channels for free that you can just about see a documentary for about anything you want. This is definitely a time to invest in self-knowledge. Self-knowledge. So, and in December 1945, a remarkable discovery unfolded near the town of Nag Hammadi. Now, Nag Hammadi is the name of a town across the Nile in North Egypt. And because they were found there, it got the name the Nag Hammadi Library of Books. That's how the name basically comes together. There was some young men, especially one young man, who was out, believe it or not, digging around for fertilizer. And they were digging in the earth and came along a large jar. The jar was sealed and contained 13 leather-bound papyrus codices. Now, codices are manuscripts, right? Excuse me. Here we go. It's codices. So there were 13 codices, but out of those 32 codices was made up 52 texts. So that's quite a bit of information that was discovered. So this dates back to around the 3rd century, which would be in the 300s, offered unprecedented insights into early Christian thought. Now this has expanded me, so I'm going to share my experience from the study of this. Maybe I've been a little narrow in some areas about Christianity. I've not been a pro idea of the label Christianity, and therefore I have not identified. But since I've learned that there was Christianity before Christianity, I'm taking a whole different look of what Christianity really was before it was organized in 315 AD at the Nicene Council, when it was put together. The question is why? Why was it a need to centralize and institutionalize what had been going on for over 2 centuries? What had been going on for 2 centuries was people who were seeking knowledge. There was no churches, buildings, no institutions, Nothing. It was groups of people who were seeking knowledge, but not just any knowledge, but direct knowledge, or gnosis in the Greek. You see, today when you go to a Christian church or that's organized into a denomination, you go in and you say, this is what we believe. If you want to believe what we believe, then you can join us. And we're joined together by these different beliefs called dogmas and doctrines. So you don't see a lot of research and seeking. We didn't do the prayer. Spirit just said to me, you didn't do the prayer. Oh my goodness. I'm excited about this. Hold on, we're going to do the prayer. Join with me. Thank you, Holy Spirit, for reminding me. Divine Mother, Father God, as we come to you through your Holy Spirit, and through your Holy Spirit, we just ask for your divine will to be done for Jackie's sister, Patricia. We know that she's created whole and magnificent in your likeness and your image, and we choose to see her that way today. We ask for the ministering of the spirits or the spirit or angelic beings that might work with her to work with her body at this time. We bring up Sandra and Sandra's family. I know they're busy. I know what they must be going through to prepare for this time of the celebration of the life of a very dear sister who was more than a sister. We ask for your comfort and your blessings upon them as they prepare for tomorrow. We see everything tomorrow going smoothly and for the highest and the best. And so it is. Whew, how do we do without the Spirit? Keep us on the line. So there was before it was called Christian, the first two decades, it would have been called Christian. The people of 2 decades were Christians before they were Christians. And, oh, sorry, I never bring my phone in here. What's going on today?
I wasn't here.
I guess so, it's all off. Hold on. I don't know. Somebody take it. Take it. I never bring that in here. That's the first time I've ever brought the phone with me in here at all. All right, so you're with me. So they would have said, these are Christians, and what that meant was they were seeking divine knowledge from the mind of Creator, which we call Christ consciousness today. That's our terminology that we call it. It means the part of divine mind that has been given to us and placed within us. So they were seeking knowledge directly from that because there was no really filtered knowledge at that time. There was no Bibles, there was no books as we know it. It had not been institutionalized, so it was just people who were seeking knowledge. Now, Gnosis knowledge is very simple, and I told you Sunday that if I gave up here and I did a research on the internet about Paris, and I came and told you about Paris, how the population, and about the Louvre, and I can give you all kinds of knowledge about Paris because I got on the internet and learned that knowledge. But if I'd been to Paris, and I told you about walking the streets in Paris and having the experience of eating in a restaurant in Paris and actually going to the Louvre, that's Gnosis knowledge versus intellectual knowledge. See? So this is why I think this is coming up, because I think there is so much new photon light data coming in from 5D that we need to get that we're going to have to be in a place to get it directly. Hence, I think why Sunday was such a success with the messages. Why it was such a success. People are looking for personalized, direct knowledge right now. And so a lot of things are happening that is kind of showing us that we're moving into this time of what my church used to call personal salvation. And it is personal salvation. And it is saving us. I need to get saved. I just didn't know I needed to get saved from the God of religion. And what man-made had told me and all that. So I'm getting saved all right. But so anyway, the discovery and the timing was fortunate, emerging in a world reeling after the Second World War. People at that time, which I think is happening now, are hungry for knowledge. Yes. I think people are in a state of confusion. And you know how I love this word confusion. If you put it metaphysically, con, C-O-N, is a prefix for with. Look it up, con. Fusion is when you're fusing and becoming one with something. Get me? So when you're leaving an old paradigm, but you haven't fused with the new one, you're in the state of confusion. This is good. That means you're questioning everything. There's nothing wrong with questioning everything. Question me. Buddha taught that. Buddha said, don't believe anything I'm saying. Because if you just take other people's knowledge, you're taking their knowledge, and what you're getting is their I am code. And you want your personal I am code. I don't know how to say that to you, but this is how things find you. Because in the quantum spiritual world, we're all one. We'll accept that, right? We're all one spirit.
Yes. Yeah.
So then if I'm out here and I'm doing karma, and I'm doing something wonderful or not so wonderful, whichever, however you see it, how's it going to find me if we're one? You might get my karma. Go, well, you're him and he's you, so here, you take it. I don't want your karma. I got my own to deal with. So I was shown that each person, when you incarnate in your soul, the individualized part of your soul, gets your I am code that is yours. So what you put out can come back to you. All right? So, and if you remember when we was in Gene Davis's months of teaching of anti-aging, his big thing was called self-knowledge. Now, I don't want to stay on this, but that means that you're sitting here Sunday, or you're sitting here listening to me or whoever, and you get a quickening. A quickening. Now, sometimes you hear somebody say something, or you read something and you go, that's really good. I really like that. I'm going to qualify that because I like that. But the source was the book or the person who said it. Follow me? Mm-hmm. In other words, I like this because I read it in this book, and this guy or the lady said this, and I really like that. It just really liked it. So I've decided to grab onto that, and I'm going to put that in my entelechy. Then there's other times, and you've done it, whether you're working or not, that you get a quickening and go, oh. And it's a feeling like, I knew that, but I kind of forgot it. That's called a quickening.
Yes.
Today we call it an epiphany. It's an electrical charge. When spirit hits the magnetic field of your soul, it goes. You get that? It's spirit hitting the electromagnetic field that releases this energy information into you, and it's like an electrical charge takes place. And the Essene says if you could see that, it would look like angels' wings. Because sometimes angels are not those white fluffy things out there, but it's your higher thoughts. And that's what the word angel means in Greek, messages, thoughts. You're walking down the street, all of a sudden a thought comes in, you need to cross to the other side. Something's not right here. That was your guardian angel who was watching out for you, which was your higher mind. So sometimes we are the angels we've been looking for. That old saying in that way. So anyway, I just want to make this clear to you that until you get it for yourself, until you have that electrical charge which will be imprinted with your I am code, then that's what starts building up your spiritual knowing and mind. And you want to build that up because you want that to become stronger than all the stuff you crammed in from outside yourself in the neurons of your brain. If you don't, it will rule. The head will rule. So be willing for these experiences to take place. And I think you're in the right place for that to happen here. We've tried to create that kind of environment here for each one of us to have our own personal experience with divine knowledge and not just sit here and learn David Hulse's. I'm just facilitating. Now, you that have been with me even before here, when I was at Unity of Charlotte, but the last 6 years I've been here, and you've been through all these workshops. I mean, how many Wednesdays have we done in 6 years? We've gone through Kabbalah, we've gone through so many different things. So we're kind of being Gnostic in the sense that we are groups of people looking into things to see, does it activate our own self-knowledge? And then that's what you want to qualify into your belief system. So, the timing of this is at a time that people are hungry for knowledge and understanding, and I believe you've entered into that cycle again, where people are so confused about the future. We're confused politically. We don't know what's going to happen. It's on everybody's mind. What's it going to be like in the few days when this new administration takes over? How's it going to affect me, my Social Security, my Medicare? All these kind of things are going on with people. And right now, there's not a better time for people to be able to access information for clarity. And we're all going to need to do that right now. We can't let everything come from outside of ourselves that makes the decision. We're going to have to make decisions basically for ourselves. The Nag Hammadi Library, as it is known, challenged established narratives, offering alternative perspectives on Christ's teaching and the nature of God. Now listen to this. The journey from discovery to translation was fraught with challenges. Don't think there's not going to be challenges. Now it's not just challenges of your family and your friends and culture, but it's going to be a part of yourself that's going to challenge you. That's the one you got to deal with. Is that part of you that you've kind of set in stone in you, and you think this is the way it is and this is the way it's always going to be, and then you start hearing things differently, and you go, and you hold on to that. You don't want to do that. You want to contemplate. Thank you. You want to contemplate it, not judge it right or wrong, good or bad. You want to contemplate it, keep it in neutral. See if it's a match, if it's a frequency match for any innate inherent intelligence in you that has been put into the shadow of your unconscious mind that is ready to make its way into your consciousness. I think I could repeat that again. Now, we've taught this here. You come in knowing everything you need to know. Even the Bible says nothing new under the sun. There's nothing new under the sun. There's not a thing you need to learn that you don't already know. You just need to learn what you know. But time you get down in this 3D body and this slow time space, there's only so much room to retain data or bits of knowledge. In fact, about 7 words will be retained at a time as I'm speaking to you in the brain. It's very slow. That's my point. Learning that way is a very slow process. You cannot retain a lot at a time when you're coming from the brain. The brain cannot handle large amounts of information at a time. You say, well, if that's true, and God knows I use a lot of words here in an hour. In fact, we figured it up. There's about 6,000 words an hour or so that is spoken, something like that. And I only got 7 at a time, and I don't get that very many. But here's what's happening. The knowledge that you are ready to experience and bring into consciousness is being activated as the words are spoken and carry a spirit resonance to it. So you may not get it all right now, but you may get it as you're ready to receive it. And you'll go, oh yeah, I remember reading that. Oh yeah, I remember somebody saying that. And then you have the experience of receiving it for yourself. So be ready to experience that kind of thing. So to appreciate the Nag Hammadi library, one must understand the historical backdrop against which it is found. The text hail from a time when Christianity was not the monolith it appears today. 4th century was a period of theological experimentation and debate. So there's a lot of debate, because most of everything, if you're going to take Yeshua as a teacher, a major teacher, which I embrace here. I can't speak for all of you, but I embrace Yeshua as a great teacher who brought in the Christ consciousness to us. If you're going to take that, you've got to realize that most everything that was written about what he said after the 3rd century was hearsay. We really don't know what was said, because it was translated and retranslated and translated. But these people who were seeking gnosis were receiving gnosis, and they were receiving direct knowledge of what the true teachings were. Now, in their brilliance, somehow they knew what was coming. They were already being persecuted. They were already having the establishment coming against them. And they knew that the time was short. So they took what they knew in Gnosis, wrote it down on these codices, and hid them. Brilliant. I am so thankful that they did it. This is so they would not be overly translated when all of this began to be institutionalized as a religion. So they did it for us. They did it for this time. If you were born around this time, you're very blessed if you're in that generation. That's why I get so upset with people that say the older generation, and everybody's old, and this, that, and another. Thank you. Thank you for the fact of how you came in and are ready now. To a lot of people, older people are pushed aside as last, but the last shall be made first. Now, I'm sorry, I'm not against all the young people and the teenagers, but they got their nose in their phones. That's their church. Their church is, when they didn't quite get the message, go within. They went within the computer, within the technology. They didn't go within themselves. So you got a lot of young people. Not all of them. Some of them are specifically come in uniquely. But a lot of my grandkids, that's where they are. Their church is in their phone. Everything is in the phone. That means they are totally neglecting their own potentials and possibilities in themselves. So teach it, if you have grandchildren, and teach them if you can, teach them how to connect with their own feelings and what they feel, not what somebody said on Facebook. I can't imagine how many people are going by Facebook like Christians went with the Bible. It's in the Bible. If it says it, then it must be so. So see, we've lost this gnosis. We've lost this self-experience of getting direct knowledge for ourselves. And all I'm saying about that is that means it's going to maybe correct and update some of the knowledge that you have qualified that's no longer of use to you. This is part of the transformation, part of this. Now, in 1945, this is what I throw out to you. In 1945 began an era, our age, what is called, and I'm going to use the scriptural term, the restitution of all things spoken by the mouths of the prophets. It says that the age cannot end until everything that has been spoken from direct source has been revealed and restored back to the people. So there's no more going over to the next age with unfinished business. You will not go into 5D trying to work out a bunch of your 3D karmic stuff. And Spirit would have me to remind you that can hear me, this is why your life has been what it's been, is because you've taken on 2 or 3 lifetimes in this one. Because there's no more over there. There's not another lifetime for you. That means that everything that has been suppressed and not balanced is now showing up. It's kind of like the building of toxicity in the body will eventually break out. You'll get a breakout at some point. I like the way somebody puts it, that what's going on in the world today is human pathology emerging on the body politic. That's what's going on right now. Much of what's going on, I don't want to get on politics, but what is going on politically is not new. If you go back and look, this stuff's been going on for thousands of years in secret societies and all kinds of manipulation, stuff like that. But now it's so in our face because it is up to be healed and balanced. And who's going to do it? The 144,009 vibration light workers who are going to reach critical mass and cause a major planetary shift. And don't you dare let your ego mind tell you, that's too old, it's passed me up. I want you to realize this teaching on the Nag Hammadi is a beginning, not a destiny. This is going to be a new beginning of a new part of your journey that's going to do that. So, Acts 3:21 I wanted to give you. I gave it to you Sunday. This pertaining to Logos or knowledge, it says, whom heaven must receive and retain, now get this, until the time of the complete restoration of all that God spoke by the mouth of his holy prophets, for ages past, from the most ancient time in the memory of man. Wow. Is that up there?
Yep.
That means this is information and knowledge that is held in the higher. Heaven means the higher elevated places of consciousness. So there's information there, but it must stay there until there has been a restoration of all things that spoken by the mouth of the prophets. Now, if you look at the trend of things in the last several decades, you'll see people becoming attracted to such things as Native American, African American, other indigenous people who have been marginalized and put aside as savages and all kinds of names that we've made them look like they don't have their own specific intelligence. That's over. People are realizing that we need more. And this is where I get concerned about this movement in America right now for nationalism.
Yeah.
That concerns me. That everything now has got to be only America first, America first, America first, America first. We can't live in that world anymore. We should have thought that before we made computers and we all got wired together in the nervous system of the network. Barbara Hubbard said if you can go out and look at the planet at night and see all of the cables and everything connected, it looks like a baby's nervous system. We have been connected up. It's too late. They should have done this back when we were separate from each other. But now, the whole planet is at your fingertips. So again, there's a higher part of you that has information that is retained until the time of restoration has been done. I believe that finding these codices is one of the beginnings of that happening, of something that had been retained for almost 2,000 years now showing up. In the Mirror Bible, which you know I love as much as any written Bible outside of myself, in James 1:17 says, without exception, God's gifts are only good. Its perfection cannot be improved upon. I really like that. Without exception, God's gifts are only good. Its perfection cannot be improved upon. They came from above, where we originated from, proceeding the light rays from its source, the Father of lights, with whom there is no distortion or even a shadow of shifting to obstruct or intercept the light or hint of a hidden agenda. That's some powerful stuff. See, I'm so glad I didn't throw my Bible away. I'm sorry for you that did, but it's probably good that you did, and it's probably not. That's up to you how you want to leave that. So, what is important here is what we're going to learn that we did not learn, and what's been edited out of the through translations of the Bible and whatever. There's some challenges that's going to come with this, and especially on the subject of God. Again, I want to say to you that I'm not here to change your perception of who and what God is to you. That's up to you if you want to change it. I had my experience in 1989 in which I lost God. There I was, I've been a preacher for all those years, preaching God, and all of a sudden I just didn't believe any longer, out of nowhere. I was devastated. Devastated. I had built a good ministry. I thought I had it made. And then all of a sudden I just went to the edge of a cliff and looked over into it and saw it as my utter ruin. Now, without getting into all that story, what happened was when I got Gnosis about it, I realized I did not lose God. I lost a belief in God that I had made my God. Hear me? People worship what they believe God is without an experience of what God is. So as it says, he who loses his soul shall find his soul. And this all happened and came to a head in Memphis, Tennessee. And it was so hard for me to continue to minister that weekend and feel like I was standing on this cliff looking over to nothing. I guess I'm going to tell this. Be patient. Yeah, you've heard it, but I'm going to tell. We got new people. So I was pretty devastated. You all know I have a chapter in my book called Misery in Memphis. I was just very miserable. Anyway, I was losing everything. I thought I'd lost God. I'd lost all this and another, and I was whatever. So I went to one of the meetings, and a lady came up to me who I kind of knew, but she said, David, I was directed this week to go to this bookstore, and I bought this. I was directed to buy a tape, as a cassette tape back in those days. And she says, I listened to it, and I thought, this is not for me. She said, I threw it in the trash, and this morning when I got ready to come to the meeting, Spirit said, go get that and give it, it's not yours, it's David's. So she brought me this little cassette tape. Now this does have to do with Gnosis, but I'm trying to give you experience. This is Gnosis experience. So here I was in Memphis in a horrible, you all know the story, terrible motel, scary, had a sign, do not leave your room, do not do this, that, and another. I had no car. I got stuck over there in this horrible place. The TV would not work, nothing. I was just devastated, and I was between the Saturday morning and the Saturday evening classes, services. And I was sitting in this chair, and I was just thinking, gosh, I'm so bored. And something said, remember that tape that woman gave you? And I happened to be traveling with a little tape recorder that I would travel with to listen to. So I had the tape recorder, and I went and got the tape out, and I popped it in, and I started listening to it. Boring. Had an accent, no scripture, nothing that I already had in my head was I connecting with. Not one thing he said was any part of my download of what I believed, my language or whatever. But there was nothing else to do. I just let him talk. The next thing I knew, I was going, kind of in that dozing place, kind of just in between. And he said, the voice said, new physics has found out that what we thought was empty space in the human cell is not a vacuum, but a plenum of an electromagnetic field of all possibilities. I jumped out of that chair, every cell in my body came alive, and I knew that I was not looking over into nothing. I was looking into a magnetic field of all possibility, which was my own potential. I found God in me, as me.
Yes.
Changed everything. Changed everything. And that is why I'm so strong, because it was an experience. It wasn't something that I learned in somebody's class, but it was something that I experienced. And I began to really find the presence of God in me as my own potential that has not been awakened yet. So that was Deepak Chopra, by the way. Yeah, was not very known by then. He wasn't. He was still a doctor in Boston, and but man, did he! So I immediately got interested in his stuff, and I remember the first book was called Quantum Healing. And so I was introduced into the quantum field theory, but there was something between the quantum field theory that I got interested in and where I was, and it was called A Course in Miracles. Now, I was going to Denver every month, and people were feeding me these tapes of a young lady called Marianne Williamson, who was speaking at Mile High Science of Mind Church in Denver, and they were feeding me, and I was listening. Science. The thing about Course in Miracles, it had the language of my mind. It talked about Jesus, it talked about sin, it talked about all the words that I have learned, but it was a shift in perception as to what I learned as it shifted me from fear-based to love-based. That was an important thing because Spirit needed to use what was already in my head so I could have an understanding in a different way. So I became, attracted towards the Course in Miracles. And they wanted to promote me in A Course in Miracles because they loved the idea of an ex-Pentecostal preacher becoming a Course in Miracles facilitator. But again, I didn't do it because I didn't want to get stuck in any one of these things that I was experiencing. I was just gathering fragments of truth that was already in me that was coming alive. I still use A Course in Miracles, but I'm not stuck with just A Course in Miracles. I got a lot from Fillmore. I've got a lot from Holmes inside. All of that has all contributed to activating my own innate intelligence without getting me trapped into something that I'm talking about for me. And I hope that I reflect that here at HeartLight, that we embrace all of these different teachings, not just one, but they all can be a part of what is happening here. So, I wanted to share that with you, that this is a part of knowledge that is been edited out, that we've not heard, we don't know, but it is in us and we are beginning to remember it. So here's some of the things that we're going to look at. Introduction is today. Then we want to go next week and start with the Gospel of Thomas. The Gospel of Thomas is 115 sayings of Jesus. And that's all they are sayings. Nothing about a cross, nothing about shedding blood, nothing. It was just sayings that Jesus said that was written down by Thomas, the contender. And a lot of those words that he said was to Mary Magdalene. So we want to look at the book of Mary Magdalene. And because you don't know who Mary Magdalene is if you read the Bible. It's not Mary Magdalene the prostitute. Not at all. And it's not Jesus either of the Bible most of the time. You've got 18 years missing in the life of Jesus in the Bible. What in the world was going on that 18 years that we never learned? I want to know. I want to know. So since I see him as my path, I definitely want to know. So we examine the key sayings attributed to Jesus in the Gospel of Thomas, which is mostly about what is within you. Creation of myths and archetypes, examination of creation myths. A lot of language that Spirit uses is mythology. Mythology. In fact, that's some reasons that people don't understand the teachings even in the Bible, because most of the Bible is written in mythology. They read the Bible and they think Jesus was really talking about giving a fishing lesson when he was teaching Peter to go let down his nets and catch fish. That was all symbolic language. All of it was. And he was very clear. It's even written in the Bible that you do not understand the things I'm saying by the symbols, but you have to realize my words are in the parable. And that's what I think Fillmore, Holmes, and them did over 150 years, or how long it's been, is they still stayed a little bit in the Christian arena. They really did. If you read their stuff, you'll see they're still using Christian terminology, but they were teaching the metaphysical meanings. They went inside the parable and they began to teach metaphysically, beyond the symbol, beyond the physical. And of course, out of that came unity and science of mind and a few other things that survived through the years as more metaphysical, or new thought, they call it. New thought is just remembering thoughts we already have but forgotten. So it's kind of new to us. So we will, this is the book. Trust me, we're not going to try to do this whole book, don't worry about that. But we are going to take some important things. So let me end with just a quote today from the book of Thomas. The secret words that the Savior spoke to Judas Thomas said, "Write down while I am walking, listening to them speak to one another." And the Savior said, "Brother Thomas, while you have time in the world, listen to me. I will reveal to you the things that you have pondered in your mind." Every one of you have times you ponder things that you don't maybe talk about, or you're personally. He says, "Listen to me, and I will reveal you things that you have pondered in your mind. Now, since it has been said that you are my twin and true companion." Now, I find that interesting. Somebody was saying, that came up Sunday, about the twin thing.
Yeah.
And I went, wait a minute. We all have a twin. We have a self we are not and a self that we are. You got a pseudo self? You got a pseudo self, and you got an authentic self. Huh? So we're all born twin. A spiritual self, a physical self, whatever it is, like that. So, a twin and true companion, examine yourself and learn who you are. In that way you exist and how you will come to be. Since you will be called my brother, it is not fitting that you be ignorant of yourself. And know that you have understood, because you have already understood, that I am the knowledge of the truth. Truth, capital T, truth. So while you accompany me, while uncomprehending, you have in fact already come to know. You will be called the one who knows himself. Now, in most religions that are fundamental Christian, has taught us against knowing ourselves. Because ourself is sinful, carnal, bad, and need to be crucified. I even started out in a ministry called the Crucified Way.
Wow.
It was rough. They made us lay on a cold floor with our hands out like we was on a cross to try to crucify our flesh. But here's what I want to give you, to leave you with this. Jesus said, "For he who does not know oneself," this says him, but I'm going to put oneself, "has known no thing." I looked over into no thing until I found no thing was the potential of everything. For if you do not know yourself, you know no thing. For he who has known himself has at the same time already achieved knowledge about the depths of the all. So then you, my brother Thomas, have beheld what is obscure to men, that is, that they ignorantly stumble against. So this is probably the most popular book, is Thomas. So we'll be basically looking at that. So in closing, the reason we're doing this as a part of the restoration of information that has been withheld and kept secret until this time, and it's been kept in its most pure form without man getting a hold of it and organizing it. Now, the reason that the church organized was because of Gnosticism. They thought these people are heathens, heretics. They're going every direction and whatever. Let's centralize them. And let's tell them this is what to believe. This is the only thing to believe, and anything outside of this is heresy. And I'm sure there's people who would think of us in that way, in some way, would think, because we're not following the regular Christian path itself, but think so differently as we do, that we ourselves. So I'm open for a few minutes if you want to. I'm just trying to lay a background here. Yes, Jackie.
I've been there to share this with you all. My sister was in the urgent care on Monday, and my brother-in-law called all of us, to let us know. And me being me, I threw on my clothes and went over there. And I sat there with my brother-in-law, and my sister was in the bed, dozing in and out. And I started talking to my brother-in-law. I don't know how we got on this conversation, but he said something about something that he had read in the Bible. And he said, it came to me, this is not what it really means. And, the real meaning came to him. And so we started talking, and he said, Jackie, I've read your books 3 times.
Oh my
Wow.
God.
3 times. And I was surprised because at one time he had Seventh-day Adventists come into his house teaching him, and he belongs to Mount Carmel Baptist Church. And although my sister has come to every presentation I've given, he had never come to any. But we talked for about 2 hours about spiritual growth, and I was convinced that he really has read my books, and he's come a long way. And I don't know, it just made my day.
I bet it did.
You made his day.
Yeah,
that's right. Absolutely.
Again, I say, cast the words upon the waters, and then it'll return. So nothing you've written or any of us have said that that seems to be not received is not in vain.
That's right.
It's not in vain. It will come forth in its own time and bring forth fruit.
So as light workers, we are doing things, and we're not always aware of how it is helping others.
That's right.
Right. So what I want to get into next time before we get into Thomas is God. The Gnostic point of view of God and what God is. So get ready for that, because it's some new ways of looking at God. I just know that we have to be careful about throwing out the word God, where we're coming from. The power of words is in the meaning, the intent. So I'm excited about this because it matched my experience that I had when I lost God. I understood why I lost the God of my belief system. The old man in the sky,
We must have all started there then, believing in that old man in the sky. It's because we were said that for so long, but at a very young age, my beliefs changed at a very, very young age in the Catholic Church.
yeah.
And I think everybody has a belief change at different stages of their evolution.
Scripturally, it says every man in his own order in the resurrection. So, yeah. But we're getting ready for an order of awakening to happen. just like Jackie was saying, I think you're going to hear more and more of people that's going to surprise you, that's going to have an experience and come out with a more spiritual, different understanding of things like that. And I think it's a sovereign thing. I don't think it's because they're going to sit in somebody's class or because they went to so it's just going to happen because they're there to
It's a
receive it.
readiness thing.
Yeah.
Just like I taught for years, and you could not teach a child to learn to read if they were not ready.
Right.
you
Right.
know, and it's a readiness thing for everyone.
Right.
You have to be ready, including us.
Right. Anyway, here's my thing with you. Let's give this 2 or 3 weeks and see how we feel about it. Because this is new to me too. I've not taught this. So let's just see how Spirit goes with it. Because this morning, I felt like maybe, the Wednesdays have been real open to Spirit. And I don't want to shut that down. Because Spirit's really been speaking on Wednesdays. So I don't want to shut that down because of some subject that we've got to be into. I kind of think that's over to have one subject. I think that if we get into something and Spirit takes over, let's go with it. So, yeah, I think you all understand me by now that that's the way we're going to go. We're going to follow the way of Spirit rather than some kind of a program about it and whatever. So let me ask you this before you leave. How many of you at least got the understanding that there's been things that's been edited out and hidden from us through the ages, that it is now coming up for us to empower us to complete all of our third dimensional lifetimes so that we can become an initiate to move into the next level of being a different human being. This is one of the things I just so disagree with so many teachings out there, is their teachings is something's broken in 3D, let's fix it. I'm saying no, let's ascend. You don't have to fix it because you're not broken. You're whole. You're whole. You don't have to fix it. Yeah. Yes.
We have to learn to let go and let in. Yeah, when you let go.
Unlearn.
Unlearn. Thank you. Let's take a moment. As usual, we take whatever's been said in the class to the altar of our higher selves. We place it upon the altar with the intent that what is for us we will receive as self-knowledge. It may not have been during the time together today, or it may not be tomorrow, but at some point you will have your own epiphany and knowing. Holy Spirit, we recognize you as the teacher with the capital T, who is here to lead us, guide us, teach us, and help us to remember all truth. And the truth shall make us free of all illusion as we become more authentic and more real in your presence. We ask for your guidance in this subject to give what it is that we are to receive. We ask it in the name of the loving presence of the inner light of the Christ consciousness. And so it is. All right, if you would, please, we will ask you to, if you feel it, to give something to the class today, to support it. We appreciate it. And again, always am thankful for your support to the class. I really appreciate it. Remember, Saturday is the concert, am I right?
Yeah, Saturday, 6 to 8.
6 to 8. here if
You
you're,
dancers show up now.
yeah. Yeah, all the dancers show up. I'm sure it'll be good. I know Greg and him,
Greg and two other musicians.
and he's bringing some other musicians in too, so,
So he says it's gonna be some dancing.
all right.
Oh, yeah.
So that's coming up.
Yes, I got
Also, I want you to remember the Saturday, the 25th, Leslie and I'll be doing the workshop on light language. And I don't want you to miss that if you're interested in knowing more about the light language. I think it'll be a very interesting time together. And that's from 12:30 to about 10:30 to 12:30 on Saturday, the 25th. And tell some other people about that, because there's some interest out there.